To the book of Matthew. We're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 9. We're going to concentrate on verse 35 through 37 tonight. Matthew chapter 9, verse 35 through 37. And as you're turning there, I'm reminded of a garden. I don't know if you've ever made a garden, but gardens are really nice. It takes a lot of work to cultivate these gardens. And when I was a little boy, out on the side of my grandmother's house, there were a couple of orange trees and a lemon tree and an avocado tree. And in between these couple of trees, I decided I was going to make a garden. Now, these orange trees and avocado trees and lemon trees, they shade pretty well. And when you're picking a proper place for a garden, what do you need? You need sun. You need sunlight. Well, I decided I needed to pick in between these trees, and half of my garden received sun, and half of it didn't. Well, I went out there and decided I needed to cultivate this garden, but first I had to kill all of the grass and all of the weeds around it. After that, I had to check out the soil, and the soil in Florida is not very good soil, and so you need some potting soil. You need some enrichment to put in the soil, the sandy soil that I was digging in. So after I did all of that, and I needed seeds. So I went, my grandmother took me up to the local market there, and I got some seeds. And I wanted to have some corn and radishes and other sorts of things, such as carrots and whatnot. And I planted these seeds in the ground. And then every day I went out there and I watered the garden. Now, over time I saw half of it grew and half didn't. And the growth that did grow, or the vegetables that did grow, they didn't grow very high, and they didn't really turn out to much. And I wondered what happened. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. What about the harvest? And so if you're with me in Matthew chapter 9, verse 35, we're going to start there. Jesus went through all the towns and the villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them, because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into the harvest field." This morning I had the opportunity to talk to you about our journey of 1,000 days. Talk a little bit about the vision, and this carries forward on it. So what about the harvest that's out here in the city of Bristol? Well, I want to talk to you about 4 P's. The first one is the people. That's the soil that we're going to go after in our garden. All we have to do is to look in the Word that Jesus went through the towns, the villages, teaching in their synagogues. What did he do? He went out looking for people. He didn't go to just one area to look for the people. He went to several different areas. He looked in the villages. He looked in the towns. He looked in the church. And if we are going to reach the harvest during the journey of 1,000 days, we're going to have to go to places that we're not comfortable to go in. Do you know a seedy part of town that you wouldn't be caught dead in when it hit dark? Well, that's a good place to go looking for the harvest. Well, Pastor, are you nuts? You're going to get us shot and killed and murdered? Well, no, we're going to go out and to win lost souls for Jesus.
Heal the body, but not the soul.
What about other parts of town? Are there other parts of town that may look good on the outside, but if you start scratching the surface, there's something going on there that needs our help?
Yeah. Amen.
Well, I think that's what Jesus is saying to us, that we need to go out and to look, not sit idly by. And when he went out to look for the people, what did he find? In the Word says he found disease and sickness. He didn't find healed people. He found people that needed to be healed. And during our journey of 1,000 days, we need not to search for the people that already found Christ. But we need to find the ones that are lost, that are caught up by the disease of addiction, that have been tied back by chains, that have the sick thought believing that the world is more important than Jesus Christ.
Amen.
We need not to be a hotel where we just house people, but we need to be a hospital. We need to bring the sick in. We need to bring them up to the altar. We need to share the word of Jesus Christ and to heal them. And again, not to house them, but to send them back out to bring more sick people in.
Amen.
Jesus went out and he didn't just look for people. He didn't just look for the sick, but he began to teach. Did you catch that word? Teaching in their synagogues. And if we're going to go out, we can't just go out and be like them.
No.
We have to share the word of Jesus Christ.
That's right. Amen.
Now that may put us in predicaments that we're uncomfortable with, but I believe that if we're going to reach the people, then we need to go after the poor soil. And to use Jesus as our enrichment, our fertilizer, to reach the lost of society.
Amen.
The next one I want to talk to you about is preparation. We need to cultivate this soil once we get it. Well, how do we do that? Well, we do it through discipleship. We don't just invite people in, invite them up to the altar and share the God with them and say, okay, goodbye, have a good day. No, we need to train them. And that's part of our mission over the next 1,000 days, is to teach people.
Amen.
And we do it by not what we say, but the actions. And that's reaching out to somebody that's hurt.
Amen.
That's saying to them, why don't we go have a cup of coffee and let me share a word that the Lord has laid on my heart for you today. It's the little things that are going to add up to the big things of people being saved, if we're going to cultivate the dirt. I think about, for a moment, towers, skyscrapers, when they're built. They spend months and months underground doing the legwork. And people can walk by the site and say, well, nothing's happening here.
Foundation.
But the workers are underneath the ground building a strong foundation.
Amen.
And if we are going to reach the lost, it's going to be on the foundation of Jesus Christ.
Amen.
This is going to be the foundation that we're going to stand on to cultivate the people. That's what preparation comes into.
Exactly. Amen.
We see in verse 36, Jesus saw the crowds. Before he went to them, he saw the need. Now, we have experienced over the last couple of months, and really over the last 45 years, we've seen the need in this community.
Amen.
And we have reached out as a church, and we should celebrate those victories.
Amen.
Because many people have come and gone in and out of this church and have been touched by the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Yes. Amen.
That is something to celebrate. But it's not something to stop and to give up on and to say, okay, everything has been accomplished. No, it means we need to press forward. We need to keep on reaching out to the people. So Jesus is saying to us, when you're talking to folks, pay attention.
Yes.
Pay attention to what they're saying. They're the crowds that may need Jesus in their lives.
Amen.
We need to prepare. Well, how do we prepare? Well, we began preparing by taking on the SOAP project, by journaling, by reading the Gospels, by preparing for growth in our church. Because people are coming.
Yeah, amen.
The question I ask you tonight is, are you ready? Have you prepared? Have you prepared spiritually? If Jesus were to come down tonight and to call his people home, would you be prepared to go?
Amen.
We read in the scriptures over and over and over people who weren't prepared. And our focus should be about preparation. We should be prepared spiritually to receive the Lord and to grow in him. And we should prepare as a church to receive people that are going to need to grow. They're not going to look like us. They're not going to dress like us. They may not even talk like us. They may even let out a couple of choice words that we just are aghast at. But just know that they are people that are being cultivated. And when we're cultivating land, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process. And the same with spiritual growth. It is a process.